ago, I was pushing supermarket trolleys, delivering pamphlets and serving up fish and chips and being paid lower than the minimum adult wage. Back in the late 1990s, when I was a high school student working after school, I, like many Kiwis, were discriminated against by the youth minimum wage, which applied to 16 to 19-year-olds and was set at 60% of the adult minimum wage. In my case, I was actually supervising adult workers, yet I was being paid less due to the law. The Green Party wants to look after Aotearoa New Zealand and all of its people. We believe in a fair go for everyone, young workers included. Everyone deserves a decent living wage, and this bill sets to undo the success of the Green Party, and in particular Sue Bradford, who last term in Parliament achieved through her minimum wage abolition of age discrimination amendment bill. This bill, put forward by Roger Douglas, wants to take New Zealand back to the past. Perhaps not back as far as he'd prefer, back to the 19th century and rampant, unregulated capitalism, but as far back as the 1980s and the 1990s, back to the bad old days of the last National-led government and its neoliberal Labour predecessor, in which Sir Roger himself was a key player. This bill seeks to reinstate a discriminatory youth minimum wage. It is discriminatory. Why should young people who are doing the same work get different pay? In a fair society, we don't pay depending on your sex, your sexual preferences, or the colour of your skin. As the Standard points out, as a parody, you can replace the word youth with Māori. In this bill, the point is, we wouldn't discriminate based on ethnicity. Why would we on age? Ever since the Equal Pay Act back in 1972, discrimination in rates of pay based on gender has been unlawful. Yet, in the one piece of legislation where discrimination shouldn't be setting guidelines, the Human Rights Act, it condones it in terms of setting up discriminatory wages. Members may have noticed my first Members' Bill, the Human Rights Youth Amendment Bill, which proposes repealing Section 30, subsection 2 of the Human Rights Act to make this type of age-based discrimination unlawful. The bill is misnamed. It's called the Mitigation of Youth Unemployment Amendment Bill, but this is just a front, a Trojan horse for the real issue. Axe buddies and big business want to pay young workers low wages, keeping wages down in general and profits up in particular for a few. The Green Party wants to give everyone a fair go and think it is a tragedy that 30% of the unemployed, near to 30%, are aged 15 to 19. Youth unemployment is rising, but it's because of the recession, not because businesses can't discriminate based on age. A Treasury report back from 2004 said there had been no negative impact of youth employment from the 2001 changes. In fact, youth were more employed and working longer hours. This bill has nothing to do with lowering youth unemployment. It's about lower wages for workers and higher profits for shareholders and owners. What is a tragedy, however, is the moves this government is making to make further tertiary studies harder and more expensive for our young people. From raising fees to cutting 40 to 45% of New Zealand tertiary courses to reducing student loan access, this government is making it tougher, not easier, for unemployed young Kiwis to train, get skilled and contribute to an innovative, prosperous, growing economy. In summary, Mr Speaker, the nation's young set are beset on all sides. Our young people are growing up in an increasingly unequal society, an increasingly uncaring society, and an increasingly dangerous one. Those with jobs are threatened by work conditions which breed mistrust, fear and conflict between workers and employees. The 90-day fire-at-will bill, miserable minimum wage increases and looming GST rises send all workers, but our youngest and most vulnerable workers in particular, a strong message. This ACT-led, John Key-led government is standing up for private profit, not a fair go for all. Last month, the National Party somewhat slowed Sir Roger Douglas's dreams of returning New Zealand back to the 1990s, then to Victorian England when they announced they will not support this bill. It's a rare piece of good news out of the beehive, but let's face it, the bill was a bad idea to begin with. The Green Party believes in a fair go for all, not for discriminating and setting pay based on age or any of the other prohibited grounds of discrimination under the Human Rights Act. The Green Party believes in finding real solutions for unemployed young people, like supporting upskilling and increasing access to tertiary education. That's why the Green Party is opposing this bill.
Rahui Katane.
Thank you, Mr.